Are you tired of always being quiet during meetings and social events? You want to say something, but you just don't know how to jump in. As a result, you keep to yourself, even though you have something to say. That's why today, I'll give you 5 actionable tips to speak up and share in group conversations. I gave the same advice to my client who's an engineer, and it helped him host well-attended get-togethers. Most introverts struggle to speak up in groups because of this one mistake. As a result, people assume they have nothing to say, even though they're smart. And because nobody sees their value, they miss out on a lot of opportunities. If that sounds like you, don't go into meetings and social events without a plan. Instead, you'll want to prepare in advance. This is especially true if you've been sitting in front of the computer all day by yourself. I mean, just think about it. How can you expect yourself to share something in a big group if you haven't been talking to anyone? You'll feel overwhelmed, you'll get in your head, and you'll freeze up mentally. That being said, here's what I recommend you do. First, do some quick research. For example, let's say you're attending a conference. Well, you can read up on recent developments in your field. If you're going to a meetup, think about interesting ways to talk about your work and hobbies. If you're joining a meeting, look into the topic or the agenda, and then brainstorm some points that you could share. It could be a story, a perspective, or some questions that you want to ask. Lastly, make sure you write things down. By doing so, you get to organize your ideas in advance. This will help you convey your thoughts better, so you don't end up rambling. Also, when you write things down, you'll be a lot more likely to remember them. As you can see, when you prepare, you remove a lot of pressure. You'll feel more relaxed, and you'll be able to form your thoughts faster. As a result, you'll have an easier time speaking up in front of lots of people. By the way, if you want to improve your conversation skills, grab your free guide below. But this advice won't be as effective if you don't know how to do this next thing. Most introverts struggle in groups not because they lack intelligence. It's because they're too slow to come up with good ideas. By the time they thought of something, it's already too late. The conversation has moved on, and that's why they get overlooked. If that's happened to you before, you need to learn to think quickly. After coaching introverted professionals for more than 10 years, I've seen the same issue many times. A lot of them overthink because they want what they say to be perfect. And look, if you're doing technical work, then critical thinking is important. But during group conversations, that delay is what gets you ignored. Lucky for you, thinking faster is a skill. And like coding or playing sports, you can improve it with practice. To help you generate ideas quickly, do this simple exercise. First, pick a random object that's close to you. And then, set a timer for 5 minutes. And now, come up with as many random associations as you can about that object. Let's use a chair as an example. So for me, it looks like a small letter H. It also reminds me of a giraffe. It also makes me think of old school wrestling matches. When you're doing this, avoid filtering yourself. Get in the habit of just writing down the first thing that comes to mind. The more you do this exercise, the more you train your brain to come up with good ideas faster. So when someone mentions a topic, you'll have something to say on the spot. As a result, you'll feel more confident speaking up in group conversations. My client who's an engineer did the same exercise, and he's now getting more recognition from the people around him. By the way, if you need some help developing your social confidence, click the link below to learn more about the coaching program. But if you overlook this next thing, you'll still get ignored by others. If you struggle to participate in group discussions, there's a reason why. If you're an introvert, you probably do well in one-on-one interactions. It's easier to manage and it's more predictable. But group conversations don't work that way. It's chaotic and all over the place. There's really no clear opening. So if you want to be heard, you need to assert yourself and politely interrupt others. But how do you do it in a way without coming across as rude or aggressive? Think of it like driving on a busy highway. You're going really fast and there are lots of cars around you. And if you want to switch lanes, you need to be aware of your surroundings and have good timing. If not, then you're going to miss your turn. The same ideas apply in group discussions. You need to be able to merge without messing up the flow. Here's how you do it. First, you'll want to raise your hand slightly. By doing so, you signal to others that you want to speak up. And then, share something relevant. Make sure whatever you talk about builds on the current discussion. Lastly, raise your energy slightly. You want to speak louder? And use your hands when you're talking. By doing so, you come across as more engaging. This will help you hold people's attention as well. And when you do these things, you'll have an easier time participating in groups. As a result, your ideas will be heard instead of getting overlooked. But if you don't understand this next point, you'll still feel hesitant. If you want to speak up more in groups, you need to stop doing this one thing. From what I've noticed, those who struggle socially care too much about the opinions of others. They want to be liked so much, so They try really hard to say something impressive. And when they can't, they feel anxious and they end up just keeping to themselves. If you can relate to that, you need to focus on just being helpful. For this to make sense, imagine giving someone a gift. For most people, they don't really care how fancy the wrapping is. What matters is the item itself, especially if you got them exactly what they wanted. You see, the same thing applies in group conversations. It's not about looking or sounding impressive. It's about contributing to others. Here's what I recommend you do. First, be present. Focus on the current discussion, and then look for an opportunity where you can add value. So in this case, if you hear something that you know a lot about, then make sure you speak up. You can share a personal story, a relevant resource, or your expertise. Lastly, keep your comment brief. That way, you don't come across like you're trying to dominate the interaction. When you focus on being helpful, you get out of your head much faster. And because you're providing value, you'll feel more inspired to speak up. People will benefit from whatever you shared, and you'll make their lives better. But you'll make very slow progress if you don't implement this next thing. If group conversations feel intense for you, there's a reason why. If you're an introvert, you probably spend a lot of time by yourself. You work in isolation and you're thinking logically. Not to mention, you probably don't have as much experience socializing in general. So when you have to speak up and there's a lot at stake, you feel pressured. If you can relate to that, make sure you practice in easier settings first. Think of it like learning how to swim. If you're a beginner, you don't just jump on a deep end right away, right? You start on the shallow side first so you can practice your strokes. And then, once you're more comfortable, that's when you make things more challenging for you. And if you want to get good at group conversations, you need to do the same thing. An important meeting or a networking event aren't the best places for you to be putting your reps in. Instead, work on your conversation skills in low-pressure environments. Here's how you do it. First, you can tell a friend or a family member something that you learned. Since you're comfortable with them, you won't feel as nervous. Next, share your idea during a small get-together. If you can only speak up in front of a couple people, start right there. Keep doing that until it feels easier for you. Lastly, attend a meetup and try to interact with a bigger group. Because it's an organized event, sharing your ideas there won't feel as intimidating. As you can see, by starting small, you build momentum. This will give you the necessary experience to develop your social confidence. Over time and with regular interactions, sharing your ideas will start to feel normal. So when you have to speak up during important meetings and events, it won't seem like such a big deal. You'll feel confident because you put in the work. But there's something really important that we didn't talk about today. You'll struggle to speak up in groups if you can't explain your ideas clearly. People will get confused and they'll end up ignoring you. To make sure that doesn't happen to you, watch this next video. That's where I give you more actionable tips to tell stories in conversation. By the end of it, more people will listen to you whenever you share something, so make sure you check it out.